Thank you so much for joining to this live session. Uh, my name is Hamid Hassanzadeh. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Parametric Architecture Platform. And today we're delighted to invite some of pioneers of computational and parametric design in our industry. And we're going to have DesignMorphine founders joining us with this live session. I just wanted to go with a very short introduction about DesignMorphine. So just stay tuned with us. In a couple of seconds, so Michael Pryor will join us as our first interviewee. Then we will have Pavlina Vardoulaki, and then Tsvetelina Georgieva. Okay. So DesignMorphine, founded by Svetelina Georgieva, Pavlina Vardoulaki, and Michael Pryor, is a global creative design hub. They focus on workshops, lectures, projects, and explorations in architecture and design and the art. DesignMorphine strives to combine learning and teaching essential elements of trending design practices in a condensed way. Now they are a team of 29, defined by a multidisciplinary approach to design and its education. The team strives to engage the conversions and dialogues between others to share experiences and learn from each other. They go by the code of the teamwork and in any project's capacity, it be a workshop or architecture. So thanks for joining to this live session. I'm invited with Michael Pryor. Hey, Michael.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, it's perfect. I can hear you. Do you
Great,
hear me
great.
now? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So welcome to PA Talks episode 36. We're super excited to have you in the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So just to start, I just wanted to go with a very, before asking my question, to go with a very short history about our relationship, about the work, about the computation. And I'm sure many of the people who are watching now, they all know you. And because whoever is interested in the world of parametric and computational design, they definitely know you. They definitely know what DesignMorphine is doing and who is Michael Pryor, what is Pufferfish plugin. But in general, like you have made a lot of contributions to this world, and with all those contributions that you are doing in the forums and under the comments, under showing the people how to design, how to deal with their codes, and even myself. You've made a lot of help for myself as understanding of the computational parametric design and how does this grasshopper works generally. and but for those of our audience who don't know you or who they might have no idea about you, can you give a little bit of an introduction about yourself and a little bit about your background? How did you started to jump into the architecture?
Yeah, sure. Well, as I said, I'm Michael Pryor, and I'm currently a computational designer at Nike. Before was in architecture, um, and uh, and yeah, I mean, my background is just trained as architect from architecture school. But then throughout school and a lot after school, I just got really interested in computational design because it was a kind of a platform that can branch out beyond architecture into many different design challenges and aspects. And also, at the time when I was getting interested in these things, like they were relatively like new in terms of the popular softwares now, like Grasshopper and whatnot. When I started using Grasshopper, it was a lot less uncommon, I would say. Pretty new, and everyone was kind of just trying to figure out what it was and what it can do and what it could be used for. it was a beta, and so you know, just all those things kind of are what has built up my experience as me. And then, you know, being interested in architecture is just because I was always kind of interested in form and space. And I used to actually work, you know, during school and before school. I used to actually work in construction. So I had a lot of like hands-on experience with building, but
Before
I was
architecture, before studying architecture, you were in construction?
yeah, because I had a family who owns a construction business. So
Yeah,
that was kind
perfect.
of like actually like my entire teenage to, you know, 20s, early 20s. I didn't ever have actually like a real job. It was always working the construction jobs with, you know, with
Yes.
family. Um, but I really didn't want, I really liked it and I really liked architecture and that, but I didn't want to be involved in kind of like that like kind of labor aspect of it. So I was getting more interested into like the design aspect of it.
Yeah, perfect. How did
Yeah.
you get interested in the computational parametric and started putting your time on this world?
Um, yeah, I mean, it started kind of in school because I was, I mean, I actually didn't use like any 3D software or anything really for like for like 3 years, maybe first 3 years of college. Um, but before even using AutoCAD, it was a lot of sketching and drawing. Um, Once I started using like, I think I used, funny enough, I think I used like SketchUp first for like a few months and then got into Rhino. Um, and I just found it kind of liberating, like to make things in 3D. Again, they were like, if you saw the work now, it was so it was so bad, you know. But at the time, it was interesting. I mean, um, a lot of things looked pretty bad back then in 3D, for the most
Yes.
part.
And
But
which year is this? Which year is this?
maybe like 2007 or 8.
Oh,
Uh,
14 years ago.
yeah. Um, I mean, even in SketchUp, there was like, you know, there was like the first like rendering plugins for SketchUp, and I don't even remember the name of it. And I remember like the first time I got reflection on a glass, and thought it was like the coolest thing ever. It just looked so bad looking at it now. Um, but I actually like around 2008, I think I got a hold of one of Pratt's like internal books, which they like do every year for like the work of the year. And it had all these crazy forms in them, and I was like, I don't even remember where I got this book, but it was like saying that they use grasshopper, and I was like, what is grasshopper? You know, so I started, you know, looking into that, and that's how I really got into it, was just from this book, because the forms, again, like at that time, now they look so dated, but at that time when I saw it, they were like so new looking, and it was a lot of like, you know, this kind of maybe early Hernan looking kind of stuff, you know, so um, and stuff you might see in like earlier, like when people were first starting getting to like Maya too, like,
Yes.
um, and it was just like something we didn't see before. So I was just really interested in it. And then, you know, I got into Grasshopper, and, you know, for me, learning Grasshopper was a lot more difficult back then than it is now, because the forum was young, there wasn't many resources, so you really had to struggle a lot to learn what was going on. And also Grasshopper was changing a lot. Like it hasn't dramatically changed in like 6 or 7 years, Grasshopper, but at that time it was changing so often,
Yeah.
um, that you had to really keep up to date. Like, and we're talking like major changes. Like one of the changes, like when I started using Grasshopper, um, there wasn't even lists, you know, everything was flat and things had to be, and then like the next day there was lists. So you had to like relearn everything over again. So, um, you know, just keeping up to date with those major changes. And then you had a lot of powerhouses like in the forum back then, more active, like uh like David Rutten, who's, you know, the creator of
Yes.
Grasshopper, and you had like Daniel Piker a lot there, and all these guys were also figuring it out as well. So learning from these people was really nice as well, and interacting with them.
Yeah, I remember once I saw your your comments or reply in forums of grasshopper3d.com. I think it was 2009, dated to 2009.
Yeah.
Is it right?
Yeah, something like that. 2009, 2008,
Yeah.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, one of the first stages of the people started using Grasshopper professionally and asking each other in these forums, like how you can solve this code, or how I'm stuck in here. I saw one of your comments and it was pretty impressive that with the amount of time that you guys have put inside for these software or to add value, it's really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look back at those old comments, it's really funny. I mean, because you can even see people like me or people that like a lot of us look up to as Grasshopper or computational experts, like being total, newbies there, like not knowing anything. Like, everyone starts like not knowing much. And you
Yes.
can actually see that like in the form, you can see me asking stupid questions in 2009 or something. It's like
Yes.
everyone's got to start somewhere. But back then, it was a lot of asking and helping each other because there was no other resource. There wasn't like the 10,000 YouTube videos and the intro classes and the PDFs and manuals. There was nothing, and there wasn't even that many components or many plugins either. So
Yes. Absolutely. And also with the community that you grow together, for example, your friends back in 2009, and now you see where are they, you all come to a upper level of this stage of these softwares that everybody, for example, whoever is using Pufferfish plugin, now you've become in the stage of pioneers of like using Grasshopper or these stuff. And how does that feel actually? You've seen the people grow together, like
yeah.
the people who were using back then from 2009 and 2008, and now they are in that top stage of like industry.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't. I mean, I don't think about it much because now Grasshopper is so familiar to me that I don't really think about it. I just use it as part of my work. It's just like another tool. Um, but it is interesting. I mean, in the forums back then, there were not so many people in there, and all the people that are in there, for the most part, um, I'm still somehow connected to, whether it's even just following them on Instagram or social media. Others we've become close friends because of that common shared thing.
Yes.
Like Mateusz, who was on the last interviews, and yeah, I would say for the most part, most of the people that were in there in that time are kind of at you know, the leading pieces of what they're doing and they're um and I just think again of people like Piker or whatever, like these like kind of real genius
Yeah.
level people who are most of the people that were there are now like the heads of or high up in computationally driven aspects of wherever they are, whether it's their own practice or other practices or architecture firms. So it's just really interesting to see all those people kind of bubble up to the top, and now they're the ones kind of leading the teams and people
Absolutely.
underneath them into the next generation of that. So
Yeah. The reason I asked, I wanted to point this out because I want to connect it to my next question now. For example, after 14 years of you starting with this tool, and now you have reached to a point that you left the architecture profession, not in terms of leaving completely, not to design anything, but you were working as an architect in an office, and your story is quite interesting. You switched from being an architect in an architecture office to be a computational designer at Nike. So how does this transition happen actually? How did you decide when a job offer like this came to you? What was your reaction? How was this transition happened?
yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it for a while because I was more interested in the computational aspects. I just became more and more interested in in computation, like making tools, solving problems computationally, algorithmically. And before, even with DesignMorphine, we were doing all the time like these workshops. They weren't always architecture related, doing projects and products. So I was just more interested in that as a individual thing rather than strictly tied to architecture. Or I didn't want to be an architect that just does computational design. Sometimes I wanted to be a computational designer that uses it for all the things I was doing. Um, and it was nothing against like, architecture or even the office. I was working at when I left architecture, I was working at Trahan, which was, an awesome place to work, an awesome office. It was, nothing against architecture or the office. My interest, just went elsewhere. Um, and I was actually, thinking about that for a while, and it just happened that I got an offer from Nike. I mean, because they're looking. I mean, these companies are looking out there for things they need. Um, Funny enough, it was through Instagram messages, uh, which is just shows like the kind of
Yes,
the importance of social media if you use it in like if you use it in a way to represent your the things that you do. Um, people are looking at those things, and it was just at the right moment, and I was like, yeah, I want a change, and I want to be able to do this all the time, rather than when I was in architecture, I got to do it sometimes, but also I had to do the other architecture things that I didn't want to do, like documenting
exactly.
buildings and figuring out like bathroom layouts and stuff like that, like just stuff I didn't really find personally
Yeah,
interesting. So,
yeah, interesting. So, and also you're the author of a Grasshopper plugin called Pufferfish, and a couple of days ago you published that more than 130,000 downloads on on Food for Rhino, I think.
yeah.
Where does this idea of creating such a plugin come from?
Yeah. So Pufferfish, like that, I mean, there's two kind of aspects. The one was um, when I was working at Trahan, they were working on a really interesting building called the Alliance Theater. I wasn't the main person in this building. I wasn't really even working on it so much, but I saw the problems in the design, and I just wanted to. It just seemed like an interesting problem to solve, which was like all these kind of curved wood pieces and how are they laid out and blended across, double curved surfaces, and how to have more control of that. And that came about the whole idea of these like tweening things accurately and controllably on surfaces. Um, so that was like one thing, like just finding that problem interesting and trying to solve it. The other thing was that, for me, the next logical step was to move, from Grasshopper into coding. So I wanted to, learn how to script. So, you know, developing Pufferfish forced me to learn scripting, because before Pufferfish, I didn't really know scripting. So I used it as a way to learn coding. I didn't like learn coding and then do Pufferfish. It was all at the same time. Um, and I think that's why I was able to learn it like so quickly, because I had like a really hard goal set. I wasn't kind of just aimlessly trying to learn how to script, right? So I laid down a bunch of things I wanted to make, and then just like, you know, through searching online and good friends like Mateusz or David Stasik, who is also now my coworker at Nike as well. Um, just relying on them to help me as well, and just being resourceful and just step by step, just making each thing I wanted to make, struggling through it and trying to solve it.
Yeah,
But
impressive.
these things, they look like they happen overnight, but they don't. I mean, the
Definitely.
first launch of Pufferfish I was working on for like 6 months before I even put out any kind of version. So, um, but it
I
was the
see.
thing that I used to learn how to do it.
Yeah, I see. I saw in the comments that wrote Pufferfish saved a lot of lives.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
Um,
So
it,
let's go. Yeah, go on.
no, I was gonna say it's good to it's good to have if you want to learn something like that, you just have to set down something like just think of something you want to make, and then that's how you learn it. It's too impossible to learn everything. Like even the best C# scripters have to use forums and stuff because there's just too much. Like, and you don't need to know it all. You just need to know
Yes.
what you need to get
To know.
what
Yeah,
you need to do done. And it's all available online too. So
absolutely. So let's go to DesignMorphine. And how did you start a DesignMorphine with Pavlina and Svetelina?
yeah. So actually, they started it about a year before me. Um, they were doing, I believe, one or two workshops before, um, and I actually, Mateusz and I, what we used to do, me and Mateusz, is we used to do workshops around the world. And I personally, someone who didn't really have, as a student, didn't have a lot of money to travel. So I used these kind of workshops as a way to travel without spending money because, you can do these workshops and you do them for free or a small price, but usually like your travel and everything is paid for. So I use it as a way to really travel Europe. So I saw a lot of Europe just because of workshops. You teach a workshop, then you spend a week like exploring Europe, and then you come back home and you just kind of do that over and over. Um, so in a way, it is kind of like a form of payment, but it's through work, right? Through teaching. Um, and so we were invited to teach one of their design morphine workshops, and I just really connected with them on like the goals and the mindset. So I became like their third their third wheel. No, their third. I became like their third partner, and the idea was, which I think a lot of people weren't doing at the time. Yeah, you always had like the AA visiting schools and stuff, and those are always like stuck in a city. It's like AA visiting school and then city name, whatever.
Yes.
And our idea was like, let's do these things all over the place. Like we can go anywhere, and how do we get to as many places as possible? How do we go to all these different cities and bring these knowledges to all these different places? Um, Even often our tutors weren't from the city that we're teaching in, so we'll fly them as well. Um, and even before webinars are hot right now because of the pandemic. I personally can't wait until workshops can happen again comfortably, because they're just a much, in my opinion, like a much nicer um, and fulfilling experience. That
Absolutely.
we try so hard to simulate online, even through like Sansar that you guys are
Yes.
doing with the loser, and but it's just not the same. I don't know. To me, um, there's still something that's nice about in-person, um, these in-person workshops. But even so, before the pandemic, to spread further, we were doing webinars, these kind of style webinars for even, I think, like 2 years before, the pandemic. So that's, that was interesting for us, is because we were already like used to it and comfortable with it. So it didn't take much for us to, just switch up and do
Adapt.
that more during this time.
Absolutely. Yeah, impressive. And connecting all those workshops, and during this pandemic, you published Design Morphing published a master's degree program, which is about computational and advanced design. Can you briefly tell us about this master degree and what is it about?
Yeah, just overall, because I believe that you're speaking with Pavlina next, and she's going to go like more into depth. Um,
Yes.
but the master's degree was really our thought and way, to and we were going to have an in-person edition as well, but also we were always thinking about an online edition. Again, how do we further get these things out there? Um, And for me, the importance is how do we define computational design as a degree in itself? So not necessarily attached to a profession, like to make it as a profession itself, because it is becoming that. Um, Most of the people that I know that are in computational design, um, who were in architecture, and even people from those old forums are doing computational design not in architecture. They're doing it in robotics companies, in CGI companies, uh, in product design companies, in fashion industry, in movie. So there is something happening there where computational designers are reaching and going beyond just architecture. Um, and I wanted to somehow, for me, see how we can capture that um, as a master's itself. So it's not in architecture or in fashion, or it's computational design as a profession, and this will let you move to different fields. I mean, just like my move to Nike, um, when I was one day in an architecture office and then 2 weeks later in a product design office. And aside from like the manufacturing aspects, it felt like the work I actually had to do and the tools I use, there was no like hard change. I mean, it felt like using the same stuff, so the same tools, the same ideas, the same concept, because the computational design isn't, it's more like a mindset. It's a problem solving mindset. And how do you solve problems in smart, new, and algorithmic ways? Um, so that's what's really important for me for the master's degree, is to teach, to try to teach and capture that mindset along with the important tools, so that people aren't limited to one profession. Because I think we're at a unique time where if you're doing this kind of thing, you open yourself up to a lot more opportunities. Um, and I think we should all be opening
Yes.
ourselves up to a lot more opportunities and experiences. Um, even you as someone who's involved a lot with media, and your media is based around parametric and computational design, right? So that's even another
Yes.
aspect that this can let you go into. Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what's important for me, is to just capture it as not a new but a standalone profession that doesn't need to be tied to
Any
a
other
field.
professions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, awesome. This conversation can go longer than 30
Yeah.
minutes. I'm sure we can.
We've definitely talked longer than this before, not
Yes,
on Instagram.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd like to make another episode with you personally as well. So,
Sure, anytime.
yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining. We will invite Pavlina to join after you. Do you have any final words to say?
Yeah, final words. I would just say, like, don't box yourself into, don't pigeonhole yourself or box yourself into one thing. Um, just always kind of try to think about the bigger picture, and the things you're doing, how you can use those same techniques to do other things, and just keep learning. You don't have to stop, or just because you master something doesn't mean like it's over. Like even me personally, I'm pretty deep into learning Houdini now, right? So um, just keep expanding, and that's another nice thing, is once you learn computational design or coding, um, other things that are part of that become easier to learn. So I find Houdini, for me, easy to learn because I understand the kind of concept and idea behind kind of this computational algorithmic scripting way of
Yes.
working and way of thinking. I can imagine Houdini or Grasshopper being very difficult to learn if you don't know that kind of stuff. But once you know one, it's the same with scripting. Once you know one language, it's not immediate, but it is a lot easier to understand other languages.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Michael.
you.
Thanks for
Thanks.
joining.
Of
Have
course.
a
We'll
nice day.
talk soon.
Talk soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching. It was a really inspiring talk with Michael Pryor. So I will invite Pavlina to join in a couple of seconds.
Hi,
Hello.
Hamid. How are you
Hi,
doing?
Pavlina. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing okay. I'm
Welcome
very
to PA
excited.
Talks.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very excited to be here today with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. It's really great to have you in the show. Do you hear me properly?
Likewise. I think so, but it might have some delay.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
I think we can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So, welcome to the show once again. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us how did your interest emerge with computational and parametric design?
Well, Hamid, I'm originally, I'm from Greece and Bulgaria, so I'm from your area of the world. I was actually preparing for med school, and I changed my mind and went into architecture because of a Zaha Hadid exhibition that was happening in Sofia at the time. So going into architecture, like that basically expanded my idea of what architecture could be. You know, like looking at this exhibition, it wasn't just you know, what I saw around me. And I think that that was very inspiring. And my inspiration was naturally coming from the world that I was most familiar with. So it was coming again like from curvature, generative processes, biology, and organic shapes. So you know, like it was quite challenging to apply those in Eastern Europe at the time because, like, again, like there weren't many resources. So the ways that like I would start learning, it was actually from different like computational design workshops or advanced design workshops around Europe. So my whole goal, you know, like was always like saving up in order to be able to participate in those and like being very excited about being part of the community. And that's how actually I met even Michael Pryor in one of the AA workshops like years ago, which was a collaboration with Louis Vuitton. So he was already a pro when I started.
Perfect. Awesome. And then you started inviting him to your workshops.
Yes, well, yes, then the journey continued. I finished with my first master's degree in public buildings in Bulgaria and Sofia, the UACG, which is actually the university that we're working with in collaboration for the masters that you mentioned. And then I continued with the AADRL with Studio Spiropoulos. So I started looking more into computational design systems and robotics. So, you know, like it was quite a serious, you know, endeavor, like diving into this like parametric design world. And my computational design journey, to be honest, like continued then with even more you know, opportunities. I would say, like I was always like being like working in architecture offices like Foster and Partners or like Warder-Low, but at the same time, like I was teaching and taking any opportunity that there was to participate in this kind of collaborative practices. Like for instance, like there was DRL collaboration with Ferrari, or Hackmasters had like some amazing like collaborative hackathons, which were actually around like building the future of airports and, you know, like envisioning what the Dubai airport would be, or even the future of cargo systems. So again, like computational design, like being applied into so many fields that like they're beyond architecture. And that actually led me to my current position, like being part of Nike and leading a 3D design team here. And again, like it's geared towards footwear. So
yeah, absolutely. We'll go to that part as well. So as the co-founder and creative director of DesignMorphine, which is a creative hub for design, education, and collaboration and innovation, can you discuss about the activities that DesignMorphine does in detail?
Yeah. Well, it was back in 2014 when I was still at the DRL, where we co-founded DesignMorphine with Svetelina, and then Michael joined. And it was, to be honest, like it was about like giving back, you know, like it was very important for me personally because I struggled finding opportunities in my home towns like to actually learn about these techniques. So we really wanted to bring like all this back to Bulgaria and to Greece, and to be able to, you know, connect with many people. And once we started, it was just such a, you know, like addictive experience because of the community. Everyone was just so excited. It was, you could see people that who haven't touched like any, you know, like really like 3D design program or even like computational design program, and learning so much in like only like 5 days. So in some way, like that's what kept us going. And also at the same time, it was very important to me to keep DesignMorphine going. And I would say that it's the same for Svetelina and Michael, is that we kept our design partnerships, because like through all these collaborations and moving, you know, from Athens to Sofia, the UK, then New York, and so on, now in Portland, like we've managed to work with so many creative people, amazing people, that we wanted to keep this collaboration alive. And DesignMorphine gave us this opportunity, and that's why it's so special for us, because like we keep, you know, like this like state of play, and yes, and design with the people that we love to collaborate with.
Yes, yes. You're an architect and have worked on bigger architecture projects like master plans for many years. And now you are leading a 3D design team at Nike since 2019. How does this transition happen from working on master plans as an architect to work as a designer, or let's say computational designer at a product design company like Nike? And how does this happen?
Yeah, well, it's exactly like it goes back to the same idea, you know, like of like keeping your mind open, and as Michael mentioned, you know, like not constraining yourself, because computational and advanced design give you the opportunity exactly to go from one industry to another. So it was exactly the same logic and knowledge, you know, like that I was applying either like to, you know, like the future of a vehicle with Ferrari, to an interior design, like thinking about like how, you know, like what the future of interior design might entail, like for Louis Vuitton, and exactly the same logic of, you know, like thinking about like creating a piece of jewelry. So it's because like design is universal language, and that's like where, you know, like when you can enrich it with like more diverse experiences, like it's where, you know, you can get like some really creative outcomes. And you can, yeah, like I think that's like the power of computational design, just like being able to move from different kind of industries.
Yes. Yeah, please go on.
So yeah, no, and even like in DesignMorphine, it's you know, like we're actually like applying it to industrial design too, because like we've been working on different kind of installations. One that we're actually like working on right now, it's called Kaleidos. It's with Dustin White and NYIT. The one that we created, suspension lamp with Arturo Tedeschi and Michael, which is called Horizon. And that was basically combining 3D printing and like Venetian glass craftsmanship, like, you know, like coming together. So, you know, like it's exactly like the same idea about like computational design and how you can apply it to all these different fields and collaborate with these like amazing people and learn from it.
Absolutely. So I think you answered somehow my next question as well. So I'll jump to the other one. So you recently published a master's degree in computational and advanced design. The program includes 5 chapters and 5 labs. Can you discuss about the program in detail and what will be the topics that students will learn during this 1-year online master's degree?
Yeah. So what the aim is of the master's degree, it's online, and what we aim is basically like to prepare the students to thrive in an era of rapidly emerging technologies, and having access basically to one of the most exclusive design teams in the world, because like definitely like computational design is right now a very big hype for any company in the world, as even like Mike mentioned. So it has to be like, if you actually like gain an understanding about these technologies and you venture into that field, you get like a lot of opportunities to go into these like special teams. That's going to be the future of design. So, you know, like maybe in 10 years from now, that's going to be the norm. And like people like from all industries are going to come in with this knowledge. But right now, it's actually something that, like for me, it's really is worth the investment, you know, like of your time. Because exactly it gives you the opportunity to be versatile. It gives you the opportunity to just like have an open mind of like where you want to apply these skills. And it's especially important in like, you know, like times which are uncertain, because like, you know, it's not the same time as, you know, years ago when our parents were seeking for a job where there was one path.
Absolutely.
And things were very, very, very straightforward. Yeah. Now you always have to prove your value, and that's where this master's degree comes from. The aim is basically like to provide the students with the tools of the future and you know, like be relevant right now. And basically, like we're achieving this through a scenario-based system. We're building in scale and in complexity. And as you mentioned, there are 5 leading design chapters and 5 supporting technical and theoretical labs that we're working with. And through the supporting labs, I'll start with that part because it's more straightforward. They're, you know, like a very condensed experiences where, you know, like they're geared towards the software, hardware of, and hardware of parametric and generative design. And students will get to learn and utilize virtual reality, or, you know, how to visualize their concepts through the media lab, or learn how to work with prototyping machines and swarm robotics. And at the same time, like there is like a theoretical lab that it's an essential vertebra of all chapters, and it's basically connecting all of them together. At the same time, the design chapters that were that are at the heart of the program, they're scenario-based, and they have to do with starting basically like from the generation of the enhanced human body. We're progressing into developing more complex architectural entities and building systems and networks and reaching a state of cosmogony, so building new worlds by envisioning, you know, the future. And it's very cinematographic, I would say, like approach, because the designers, the students are going to be taking a leading role on how, you know, like they envision the future of humanity to be, and depending on environmental and cultural challenges, but also like the technology that like it's really coming into our lives in very fast pace. So I think that that's going to be the most important part of like taking some of these scenarios and taking some of these scenarios and building upon them. I can go more in depth into like the chapters themselves, like in order to explain a bit more of like the software, if you're interested in that too.
Yeah, of course you can go briefly by introducing the softwares as well.
Yeah, so basically, like as I mentioned, like the first chapter has to do with prosthesis. So we'll start from the human body because that's, you know, like how basically humanity designs for itself. It has to do always like architecture is all about like our bodies and how they're designed, and, you know, like the dimensions that like they occupy basically. So that's where you know, like we are going to start actually like building on the body itself and seeing how the technological future will impact it. So we'll be working with cyborgs, half humans, half machines, exoskeletons, augmented beings. So it has to do more like with, again, like applications to the scale of fashion design in a way, and robotics like merged in one. Some call it body architecture.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Exactly.
And also like the softwares though, like that we're going to be using in this chapter have to do with polygon modeling and sculpting. We'll be focusing on Maya, while like building up onto the next scale of complexity, which is actually like the space that this body inhabits. So we're moving into a living cell. That is actually giving good us good conversations about like answering questions about mobility, adaptability, transformability of the space, and you know, like how to actually like answer these questions around all that about the space that like a human inhabits and how this technology would you know, impact it. So we'll be moving from polygon modeling into Rhino and Grasshopper in this chapter, and then like moving on into amalgamation, which has to do with then like taking these cells and basically creating aggregations and exposing them to different kind of environmental you know, like different environments or different you know, scenarios. That's how we'll build these aggregations, and that's where we'll go more into Grasshopper and generative algorithms, because like that's like a great opportunity to see like how these systems could emerge in a very generative you know, like way. And then like building upon this amalgamation, like masses that are going to be combined. Like
this is fourth chapter, right?
Third chapter, and then fourth
Okay.
chapter is about like kinesis, which has to do with movement, and it's actually tying together all these amalgamated masses and like different cells that are coming together, and like basically we are interweaving the systems within like the chapters, and like we're using Houdini for that. So there is like a lot of like, you know, like knowledge that is built upon like even on the software end. I'm sorry.
No worries.
On the software end, while we're moving forward. And the last chapter, the fifth chapter, has to do with cosmogony, and that's where the students are actually going to learn more and more coding. So we're going to like encode again like a lot of those behaviors that we saw like in the previous chapters, in order to reach a bigger state and like to handle like you know, like a heavier masses basically into the master's chapters.
Amazing, amazing. So before moving to forward, I'm going to Svetelina. I saw in the questions that where this degree will be, and is it an accredited master's degree?
Yes, so it's a very good point. So basically the university that like myself and Svetelina studied at, which is the UACG in Sofia, it's the one that accredits the program. So it's fully accredited and recognized worldwide. I know myself because like I've been moving a lot, so definitely like it's a great university partner that it's, you know, entrusting us with this program fully. And at the same time, like we do have like amazing partners that are you know, like working with us in order to help us with this like master's degree, like yourself, Hamid, thank you so much for today. And also like Shape Diver, Shape Diver are giving like some of the scholarships that we are you know, like having for the master's degree. So like if, you know, like anyone is like interested, there are some options for them in this way, like to help out.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for this brilliant information about master's degree, and also your background about computational and architecture as well. Thanks. Do you have any final words to add to the conversation?
Well, my final words would be, yeah, just keep positive. You know, like these times are challenging for everyone. Be empathetic to you know, to others, and take opportunity, you know, like at least like to learn and to better yourself in these times, because you know, like I think that like that actually like helps staying connected. And to be honest, like it's being amazing, like to be able to be part of this amazing community of computational and parametric design, because it's somehow like you don't feel alone in these times.
Absolutely.
And that's something that like we definitely like, you know, like would like to see for our students too. We would like them to grow and become better in their futures, but at the same time like actually have the opportunity to feel as part of something, to feel as part of the community, and to be designing with this, you know, like with empathy and understanding in mind.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate your time, Pavlina.
Thank you, Hamid. All the best.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Hello, Svetelina.
Hi, Hamid.
How are
Hi,
you?
everyone. Good, thank you. You?
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining to PA Talks episode 36.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
It's good to see you here. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us more about your interests and backgrounds as an architect?
So I am currently based in Sofia, Bulgaria. Before applying to architectural school, my interests were mainly in fashion design. And in my last year in high school, I suddenly changed my mind and applied in UACG in Sofia, Bulgaria, where in 2012 I graduated as an architect with master's degree in architecture technology. Together with Pavlina, as she mentioned.
Yes.
This is the same university. She spoke about that we are currently have as our partner for this master's degree that we are offering now. During my studies and 9 years after that, I have an experience as an architect in different architectural companies and also as a freelancer. I've worked on different scale projects, and also I have very big experience in interior design. It was also very interesting to work in an architectural and investment company on big residential projects, big residential complexes. Where we closed the whole circle from having the plot, design the buildings, execute them, even the interior design, and after that sell the apartments to the final customers, the future residents.
Yes.
This is interesting to work with so many people from the beginning to the end of this whole several years.
Yes, awesome.
Time. In 2014, we started DesignMorphine. You talked about that with Michael and Pavlina. And since then, I'm executive director of the company. My experience with it inspired me for my PhD thesis, which I'm currently working on. And it's basically the intersection between parametric design and business. I'm also having plans to do global executive MBA program in future. I've actually was about to do it earlier, but I should have postponed it because of the pandemic, because it's connected with many travels all around the globe.
Yes.
So I hope that this will help me with my professional growth and also with my future plans for DesignMorphine developments.
Yeah, thank you. So as you mentioned, you're a PhD candidate and working on a topic of parametric design, education, business development. How do you think parametric design is helping architects to manage their projects in terms of business development?
So from my experience and also research, I see that in most of the architecture schools and even design schools as a whole, they are teaching the students only the design or the technical part of the profession. Starting your career as an employee in a company, you are gaining design experience, but in most of the cases, the business part of the process is behind closed doors. I think, in fact, programs that combine design and business administration are very rare. So I think both undergraduate and postgraduate design programs should focus more on that because it's very important, especially for those who would like to start their own business at some point. Parametric design in particular is very useful not only for the architects, but most design fields, simply because it saves a lot of effort, energy, and labor, which directly affects your expenses and income. Whichever company hasn't started using these tools, they should definitely change their business direction in that way.
Amazing. So what are the unique aspects of DesignMorphine's master's degree in computational and advanced design that students should know about?
This is very important question. I think the whole
like
program...
we talked details with Pavlina, we talked an overview with Michael, and what are the most important features about this master's degree?
Yeah, it's very unique because first of all, it's online and it's only 9 months. So for that period of time, you are getting an accredited and worldwide recognizable degree, master's degree. It's focused on building a multidisciplinary mindset and techniques that can be applied at any design field. The team of educators are exceptional, and they all are working professionals using these skills in their everyday careers. The students will also become part of a diverse community with a global network. And after their graduation, they will have the right mindset and skills to build their own design brand or be the ideal candidate at any advanced or computational design position worldwide. So this is briefly what I think is most about this program. But overall, mostly because it's online and from the comfort of your home, you could get worldwide recognized master's degree.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, thank you. How does DesignMorphine's recent webinar series are related to master's program?
I think that Michael mentioned, but we started doing webinars many years ago, way before the pandemic happened, when the only possible way for teaching was online. So far, we've had over 50 successful webinars with thousands of participants. But these now that we are offering are very special because they are inspired by the masters. Each webinar is a little glimpse of a particular chapter of the masters. They are very useful for all those students who would like to apply to our program because they could see better what the masters is going to be about, and also even to prepare a little bit about it. And in the same time, they are like any other of our webinars, very convenient and accessible way to learn a lot on a specific topic and software. Yes. In only 5 hours from your home.
Yes, amazing. And one last question: why did UACEG decide to accredit and support the master's program? Because normally universities don't support online these kind of short period master's degree. Normally they do give certificate program, but not a degree of master. how they did accepted to support this?
This is true. It's very hard because usually the universities are very traditional. And we are very fortunate with Pavlina that we have the chance to enrich our own university program. UACG is a very renowned university with many traditions and long history. Its diplomas are recognized all over the world and accredited. And it's a privilege for us that that university with so many traditions accepted our idea and helped us to make it a reality. The Dean of the Faculty of Architecture, this is Professor Urlin Davchev, gave us green light on our very first meeting when we presented our plan. And he did that even before hearing the whole plan. It was really very good for us. This was maybe 2 years ago. In the same time, the change in architecture and technology is happening at an incredible rate, and the world is becoming more and more competitive. So in order to better prepare the future generation of professionals, so universities should constantly upgrade and update their programs.
Absolutely.
And what else helped us is that this particular university, they know DesignMorphine from the very beginning. They were witnessing our constant growth, especially in innovation. And we also worked before with them on different projects and courses.
Yeah, amazing. Awesome. It's really great to have these kind of programs in the university accredited by the university, and it's really awesome that it's a master degree. It's not a normal like certificate program or being it as a master degree. It's really awesome. Thank you, Svetelina, and really appreciate that. Do you want to add anything to the conversation?
Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I hope that your viewers enjoyed all the 3 interviews, and I hope that we'll see again in very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Have a nice
Good
day.
night.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Guys, thank you so much for watching this live session. I wanted to add a couple of points. First is if you want to get to know information about the master's degree program, Computational and Advanced Design, just go to designmorphine.com/education. And there's a lot of information about this master programs, about the 5 chapters and also 5 labs. And you will, in case you had any question, you can reach out to Michael or DesignMorphine through Instagram, DM them and ask your question. And also, second thing is our computational design next 4.0 is on 17th and 18th of April. If you're interested to join this conference, just roll out to our website and just register as soon as possible. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining to PA Talks 36. And till another day, another interview, stay safe and stay healthy. Goodbye.